Welcome to the deep dive. Ever wonder how those delicate electronics you rely on make it from the factory to your hands without, frying themselves?
It's a good question.
Yeah. So today we're plunging into this surprisingly crucial world of anti-static films. We've got this recent market report. It's packed with data. And our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights for you.
Get to the heart of it.
Exactly. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding this, well, kind of hidden market that keeps our digital lives ticking over.
That's right. We're talking about these thin, often clear plastic sheets, and they're specifically designed to prevent, or at least drastically reduce, static electricity buildup.
Sounds simple enough when you put it like that.
Well, it sounds straightforward, but the science behind it and the market itself, they're actually quite complex.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit then.
Yeah.
How exactly do these films stop those annoying zaps, the ones that can damage stuff?
It's really about what's mixed into the plastic when it's made. So typically you'll find conductive materials worked in.
Like what kind of materials?
Things like carbon black or sometimes even tiny metallic particles. These act like, like little pathway.
Pathways.
Yeah, they let any static charge that forms just sort of dissipate safely instead of building up to a dangerous level. Think of it like a built-in escape route for the static.
Ah, okay. Little safety valve for static. That makes sense. So they're like bodyguards for sensitive electronics.
Pretty much, yeah.
But where do we actually, encounter these films in the real world? And why are they so essential?
Oh, the applications are incredibly diverse. The most critical one, no doubt, it's protecting electronic components.
Your circuit boards, computer chips, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Protecting them from electrostatic discharge, or ESD. That's the big risk. ESD can cause what's called latent damage.
Latent damage, meaning
A device might seem okay at first, test fine, but then fail, prematurely down the line because of that initial static zap.
right. So for manufacturers, this isn't just about stopping immediate fails. It's about long-term reliability.
Got it.
What else? What other benefits do these films have?
Well, beyond just safeguarding the electronics themselves, they're also really vital during transportation.
So
Imagine sensitive components just jostling around in a box. Without that anti-static protection, static buildup could be a significant problem.
okay.
They also help keep products looking good, maintain quality by preventing dust attraction, static cling.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And we also see them used quite a bit in healthcare, life sciences,
Yeah.
protecting sensitive medical gear. Plus, they are a pretty cost-effective solution.
Adaptable.
Very adaptable, yeah. Customizable. And importantly, many are recyclable too.
Wow. So from tiny microchips to maybe life-saving medical devices, it's kind of amazing how much these films do behind the scenes.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's not just high-tech industries, right? Our notes mentioned others.
Absolutely. You'll find them in general manufacturing, protecting various sensitive parts.
Yeah.
The automotive industry uses them a lot for shielding all the electronics packed into cars now.
Right. Cars are basically computers on wheels these days.
Pretty much. And even some food and beverage packaging, actually. Anywhere static could cause issues with, say, powder sticking or certain packaging materials misbehaving.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on what they are and why they matter so much. Now, zoom out, look at the market picture. Our report has some initial numbers. What's the current size? Where is it headed?
Okay, so according to this report, the global anti-static films market, it's projected to hit about USD 628.52 million in 2025.
628 million. Okay.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The forecast sees that number climbing pretty dramatically, up to USD 155.92 million by 2033.
Wow. Okay, over $1 billion by 2033. That's
Right.
quite a jump.
Yeah.
What kind of growth rate are we talking about to get there?
That translates to a compound annual birth rate, a CAGR, of 6.7% between 2025 and 2033.
6.7%. That definitely signals a healthy expanding market.
It does. It shows real momentum.
Okay, a solid 6.7% CAGR. Now let's break down that global picture. Where's the market strongest right now? Where is it, picking up speed the fastest?
Right. So North America currently has the biggest piece of the pie. We're looking at over 40% of global revenue in 2025.
Over 40%.
Yeah, translates to about USD 182.27 million. However, their projected growth, the CAGR, it's a bit more moderate, around 5.2% through 2033.
Okay, 5.2%. So a mature market. Steady growth, but maybe not explosive.
That seems right. It lines up with their, well-established consumer electronics and automotive sectors. Plus, they've got major semiconductor players there.
Makes sense. And the report breaks down North America further, doesn't it? What about the U.S., Canada, Mexico specifically?
Yeah, the U.S. is the powerhouse in the region, no surprise.
Yeah.
Estimated at USD 143.81 million for 2025.
Hmm.
The CAGR is projected at 5.0%.
And e-commerce is a big factor there.
Undoubtedly. The report points to the strong e-commerce industry, more goods being shipped, electronic and otherwise, all needing protective packaging.
Right. And Canada.
Canada's market size is around USD 21.87 million in 2025, expected to grow a little faster actually at 6.0%, maybe driven by technological innovation.
Interesting. And Mexico.
Mexico comes in at about USD 16.59 million in 2025, with a projected CGR of 5.7%. Still pretty solid growth.
Okay, so North America is the current leader, the heavyweight, but maybe not the fastest grower globally. What about Europe? How does it stack up?
Europe's a big player too, commands over 30% of the global revenue. The market size there is estimated at USD 150.84 million in 2025.
And their growth?
Projected CGR is 5.5%. So again, stable, significant market, similar growth trajectory to North America overall.
And within Europe, any standouts? Big markets or faster growers?
Well, the UK shows solid growth.
Yeah.
Market size around USD 25.34 million, but a CGR of 6.3%. It seems driven by demand for like high-quality packaging solutions.
Yep.
Germany is the largest market in Europe, USD 29.87 million with a CGR of 5.7%. That's likely helped by their strong manufacturing and tech sectors.
Right.
Then you have countries like Russia, France, Italy, Spain. They have substantial markets, but their growth rates are a little more modest, maybe in the mid-4s to high-4s% range.
Sure.
What's kind of interesting is some smaller economies. Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they're showing decent CGRs too, above 5%. Suggests maybe niche demands or strong tech adoption there.
Interesting dynamic across Europe. Okay, so steady, reliable growth there. Now let's pivot to the region that seems to be getting the most attention. Asia Pacific. APAC. The report said fastest growth.
Absolutely. APAC. Right now, it accounts for maybe 23% of global revenue. Market size around USD 232.55 million in 2025.
Okay, already quite large.
Yeah, but the really striking figure is its projected AGR, 8.6% between 2025 and 2033. That is the highest worldwide. It signals really rapid expansion.
Wow, 8.6%. That's nearly double the rate in North America. What's fueling that kind of explosive growth in APAC?
It's a few key things coming together. First, the region is just a massive hub for semiconductor design, manufacturing, research.
Showed you built-in demand.
Exactly, and natural significant demand for antistatic films just to protect all those sensitive components. Plus, you've got growing electronics exports from APAC, and also increased domestic use in consumer electronics and those rapidly growing automotive industries across the region.
Right, and which specific countries in APAC are really pushing this growth?
China's the biggest single market there. About USD 97.67 million in 2025 with a strong CAGR of 8.1%. Just huge domestic demand for electronics fueling that.
Okay.
But India really stands out. It has the highest projected CGR in the entire region, maybe the world, at 10.5%.
10.5%, wow.
Yeah. Market size around USD 23.26 million in 2025, but that growth rate is impressive. And it seems largely tied to the massive expansion of e-commerce in India.
So more shipping, more packaging needed.
Exactly. More protective packaging for all sorts of goods reaching consumers across the country. Japan and South Korea also have big markets, solid growth rates, in the 7% range.
And even smaller markets.
Yeah, even places like Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, they're showing strong KGRs too, around 8 or 9%. And Southeast Asia as a whole, that's another hotspot, projected CAGR of 9.4%.
It really highlights that link, doesn't it, between e-commerce growth, electronics manufacturing, and the need for these specialized films.
Absolutely interconnected.
So it definitely sounds like APAC is the engine driving the future growth here. What about South America and the Middle East? Quick lip there.
Sure. South America represents maybe just over 5% of global revenue. Market size around USD 23.88 million in 2025. Projected CAGR is a healthy 7.0%.
Okay, respectable growth.
Yeah. Brazil and Argentina are the main markets there. They're benefiting from more investment in tech and infrastructure, plus, growing consumer demand for electronics.
And the Middle East?
Middle East is smaller, around 2% of global revenue. Market size about USD 25.14 million in 2025, but the CAGR is actually slightly higher than South America's at 7.2%.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are key markets. Turkey's showing strong growth too, maybe 7.8% CGR, likely due to investments in their own electronics and packaging industries. And Qatar is seeing growth too, possibly linked to demand for more efficient packaging overall.
Okay. And finally, Africa. What's the picture there?
Africa currently has the smallest share, around 1%. Market size roughly USD 13.83 million in 2025, and it has the lowest projected CAGR, about 2.9%.
Okay, much slower growth there.
Yeah. South Africa is the largest market within Africa. Nigeria is showing slightly faster growth, maybe around 3.1%, possibly linked to rising industrialization. But overall, yeah, growth is more modest compared to other regions.
Okay, that gives us a really thorough global map. So recapping slightly, North America leads in size now, but APAC is where the really rapid growth is happening.
That's the picture, yes.
Now let's dig into the why. What factors are actually pushing this market forward? The report mentions some key drivers.
Indeed. Well, the fundamental driver, number one, is just the continued growth of the electronics industry globally. Simple as that, really.
More gadgets, more need for protection.
Exactly. As demand for electronic products, components just keeps climbing, so does the essential need for antistatic films to guard against DSD. I mean, the report points out U.S. consumer electronics revenue alone is expected to hit something like $881.7 billion by 2025.
Wow. $881 billion just in the U.S.
Yeah. Just imagine the sheer volume of protective materials needed to support that scale.
That's a staggering figure.
Yeah.
It really drives home how much the whole electronics world relies on these films. Okay, what's driver number two?
The e-commerce explosion. We touched on this with India, but it's global.
Right.
The huge increase in online sales, not just electronics, but everything. It demands reliable protective packaging. And interestingly, antistatic films are being seen as beneficial even for non-electronic items sometimes.
Oh, so?
Just to prevent static-related issues during shipping and handling, like that dust attraction or materials clinging. The report notes U.S. e-commerce sales jumped 7.5% in just one quarter of 2023, now over 15% of all retail sales.
And that trend is happening everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere, yeah. Driving significant demand for all kinds of protective packaging, including anti-static films.
It really shows how things are linked. Buying more stuff online directly boosts demand for specialized plastic films. Amazing. Was there a third main driver?
Yes, and it's maybe a bit broader. It's just the increasing global awareness and adoption of these films across more industries.
So more people realizing they need them.
Essentially, yeah. As more businesses recognize the potential cost of damage from static discharge, they're just proactively building these films into their processes. Manufacturing, storage, shipping.
So it's becoming less niche, more standard practice.
Exactly. Less of a specialized thing and more of a best practice in lots of sectors.
Okay, so a powerful mix. Booming electronics, the e-commerce surge, and just wider understanding of why static protection matters. Now, any roadblocks, anything holding the market back, the report mentioned a restraint.
Yes, there is one key challenge highlighted, and that's the influence of crude oil prices.
Ah, the raw material.
Exactly. Since these films are mostly derived from petrochemicals, swings in crude oil prices directly hit the cost of the raw materials.
Making the films more expensive sometimes.
Potentially, yeah. That volatility can push up the price of antistatic films, and if the price goes too high, it might make alternative, maybe non-antistatic packaging look more attractive, economically speaking.
Right, could put a ceiling on growth or make people look for other solutions.
Precisely. It introduces that element of uncertainty.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears to the more exciting stuff, developments in the field. What are some key market trends? What's new and upcoming?
Well, one really significant trend is this strong focus on innovative technology. The big players are investing heavily in developing high-performance films that do more than just handle static.
Like what? Added features?
Yeah, like adding corrosion inhibition, for example. The report mentions Cortec Corporation's EcoSonic film. It combines antistatic properties with something called vapor phase corrosion inhibitor technology.
So one film tackles two problems, static and rust.
Basically, yeah. That kind of multifunctional film obviously offers more value.
That sounds like a smart move. Solving multiple headaches with one product. What other kinds of innovations are happening?
Another interesting area is developing conductive coatings. Things you can apply to surfaces that aren't naturally conductive to give them anti-static properties.
So not just films, but paints or sprays too.
Kind of, yeah. The report mentions a Sherwin-Williams aerospace coating as an example. It makes materials like aluminum or composites highly conductive. That opens up whole new applications beyond just traditional packaging.
So innovation isn't just in the films, but also in how you achieve antistatic properties on different things.
Very cool.
Okay, the report also breaks the market down in different ways. Let's look at the materials used first. What are the main types?
Okay, materials. The report highlights three main ones. Polyethylene, that's PE, polyethylene terephthalate, PET, and polyvinyl chloride, PVC.
And which one's the biggest?
Right now, polyethylene, PE, holds the largest market share. It's got excellent antistatic properties, it's protective. It's kind of the go-to choice for protecting electronic parts during storage, transport, especially, where ESD or even fire risk are big concerns.
Okay, PE is king for now. What about PE and PVC?
Well, polyethylene terephthalate, PET, is actually noted as the fastest growing segment by material type.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Seems largely due to the growing popularity of silicon-coated PE release films. They're used in various industries, not just for antistatic packaging, which is boosting its overall growth.
Interesting. And PVC?
PVC is mentioned as another material used, but the report doesn't really give specifics on its growth compared to PE and PE.
Got it. So PE is dominant, but PE is the one growing fastest.
Oh.
Now, how are these films actually used? The applications? What are the main segments there?
Okay, applications. The leading segment here is bags and pouches.
Makes sense. Little bags for components.
Exactly. Just think about how widely they're used for packaging individual electronic devices, other sensitive bits and pieces. They need a static-free environment for shipping, storage. It's a really fundamental, versatile solution.
Totally aligns with protecting individual parts. What other major uses are there?
Tapes, clamshells, wraps, and liners are also important segments. But notably, the report says clamshells are expanding rapidly.
Those clear plastic molded packages.
Yeah, driven by, well, retail packaging needing to protect the product, but also display it nicely on the shelf. And also, again, e-commerce. Clamshells are pretty secure and protective for shipping.
Right, you see those everywhere. Makes sense the anti-static version is growing too. Okay, last segmentation. Who uses these films? The end user industries. Which sectors are the biggest customers?
Unsurprisingly, the electrical and electronics industry is the largest end user segment.
No shock there.
Yeah, it ties directly back to everything we said about needing to protect sensitive electronics during manufacturing, packaging, preventing that static damage. Especially critical in explosion-protected areas where a static spark could be disastrous.
Absolutely critical. And which end user sector is showing the fastest growth in demand?
That would be the pharmaceutical and medical devices industry.
Ah, okay. Why the rapid growth there?
It seems fueled by increasingly strict regulations and just the absolute critical importance of protecting sensitive medical devices, pharmaceutical products from any kind of contamination or damage. That includes static discharge. Product integrity there is just paramount.
That really highlights the wide range of vital roles these films play, doesn't it? From phones to life-saving drugs. Okay, the report also touched on the competitive landscape. Who are the main companies involved?
Yeah, it's described as a highly competitive market. You've got a mix of big global corporations and also more specialized regional players.
Any names mentioned?
A few, yeah. Companies like Toyobo, Nanya Plastics, Torii Plastics America, Mitsubishi Polyester Film, Achilles Corporation, Klockner Pentaplast, Women Corporation, Sekisui Film, Colon Industries, Saint-Gobain. Quite a list.
Okay, sounds like a diverse group. What are they focusing on to compete? What are their strategies?
Well, the report suggests common strategies are things like expanding their product ranges, offering more types of anti-static solutions, strengthening their distribution networks to reach more customers globally, and crucially, investing in R&D.
Innovation is key.
Definitely. Driving innovation in the film tech itself, exploring new uses. The report gives examples like Mitsubishi adapting production during COVID to make anti-fog films for medical face shields.
Quick adaptation.
Yeah. And Klockner Pentaplast expanding its capacity for recycled PE extrusion. That caters to the growing demand for more sustainable packaging.
Right, sustainability is huge now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that gives us a good sense of the players and the competitive dynamics.
Well, we have certainly covered a lot of ground on anti-static films, more complex than you'd think. Let's try and wrap up with some key takeaways.
Absolutely. So takeaway number one, the global anti-static films market is significant, and it's definitely still growing, projected to get close to that $1.1 billion mark by 2033.
And that growth is mainly being pushed by the nonstop expansion of electronics and e-commerce globally.
Right. And also just this broader recognition across many industries that, hey, static protection is actually really important.
We also noted that, yeah, raw material price swings, especially crude oil, can be a challenge, but the market's really being propelled by innovation.
Yeah, ongoing innovation in the film technology itself, like those multifunctional films, and also in the different ways it's being applied. And regionally, Asia-Pacific is clearly the powerhouse for future growth.
Right. And material-wise. Polyethylene, PE, is still the main material used today, but PET, polyethylene terephthalate, is the one showing the fastest growth in adoption.
And application-wise.
Bags and pouches are still the biggest segment, but keep an eye on clamshell packaging that's rapidly gaining ground, especially with retail and e-commerce needs changing.
So what looks like a simple plastic sheet is actually part of a really complex, evolving market, playing this vital, often invisible role in protecting the tech and products we use every single day.
Exactly. It's quietly essential.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about how electronics are getting even more complex and sensitive, and how much we rely on e-commerce. How might future advances in antistatic film tech keep reshaping packaging and transport, maybe in ways we haven't even thought of yet? What totally new materials or clever applications might pop up to tackle these ongoing static discharge challenges down the road? Definitely something interesting to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.